Sup guys and girls, Giovanni here, and today I'm going to be talking about the multiverse and supernatural. Make sure to watch part 1. It was done by MFS before he went back to the future. I will repeat a little bit of it in this video, but for majority of it, go watch part 1. But yeah, let's get into the video.
Alright then, on with the show.
So, where should I start? I got it. Let's start from the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. In the crossover, you see John Constantine and Lucifer Morningstar meet. It's shown at some point in their lives, John went to Earth 666 to meet Lucifer. At some point, I will do a video on how I think they met. Now, getting back to the multiverse and supernatural, I'm going to let Barry Allen explain what the multiverse is.
All right, so imagine there are multiple versions of Earth. One where Nazis won World War II, one where Kennedy was never assassinated.
Oh yeah, one where all of us are evil.
Been there, it sucks. So all of these Earths occupy the same place in space, but they vibrate at a different frequency so they can't see one another.
So let's start from the beginning. There was 4 beings in order. It was the shadow, the darkness, God, and then death. Or death and then God. Because I still don't know who's older.
Well, I gotta ask. How old are you?
As old as God. Maybe older. Neither of us can remember anymore.
God started to create things, but the darkness would destroy. And this next part is me connecting this to a theory my friend told me about from the Supernatural Reddit he heard from a while ago. What if that place where the Paragons were facing the Anti-Monitor at the beginning of time was one of the places that Amara destroyed? I think it's a good theory. Eventually, God got tired of Amara's crap. He then created the original 4 archangels: Michael, Lucifer, Raphael, and Gabriel. A war that lasted for a long time while death and the shadow is on the sidelines. They were able to lock her up, and then just like MFS said, either God created the Big Bang and then it was the multiverse, or there's a Big Bang for each Earth. The Lucifer TV show, let's bring that into the equation. For people who don't watch that show, God had a wife called the Goddess. You know what? Let's let Lucifer explain it.
Once upon a time, a boy met a girl, and they fell in love. They had sex. The only trouble was they were celestial beings, so that moment created the universe.
The Big Bang?
Never knew how appropriate the name was until now, did you?
In order to not mess up the supernatural or Lucifer continuity, let's say God created the goddess, thinking she created herself. This is all happening without the original 4 archangels knowing, by the way. Now for the goddess, she could know about the multiverse because Lucifer knows about it. But as I'm going to say in the video on how I think Lucifer met John Constantine, maybe he found out through another Lucifer. Or maybe Lucifer knew since the beginning. Regardless, God told the goddess that if you go to another Earth, I'm going to kill you. If you watch the season 2 finale of Lucifer, Lucifer sends his mother to another Earth, which happens to be...
Wait for it.
Empty. Or blank, in which the goddess can start over. To which I will call it Earth 665. The Earth that appeared in the season 3 finale, I would say it's Earth 667. I've said this recently a lot, and that is season 6 should explore the multiverse. Maybe not the entire season, but just for a couple episodes, just to get the crossover with John Constantine, which should be a 2-parter episode. Here's how it should go down. First, there's a rumor and no speculation that spoiler, Dan is going to die in season 5. So let's say that happens. In season 6, the goddess returns in a Charlotte Richards vessel that she created and is able to contain her since the original couldn't. Dan returns as well. You see how differently he is from Earth 666 Dan, and this causes some problems for Chloe and Tricia, especially Tricia. The reason behind all this is the goddess now being on Earth 665. She wanted to create stuff that was different from her ex-husband's. So, in season 6, when Lucifer goes to her Earth, he tells his mother, well, this looks the same as my Earth. The goddess would be like, I wanted to create my own thing since your father wouldn't take my ideas. Instead, he wanted to create humans. But I couldn't think of anything. I then thought of my time back on your Earth, so I recreated everything. There's some small differences, but everything is pretty much the same. Like, what if maybe Dan is an angel? Let's not forget, there's a new heaven and hell on that Earth, too. Now, let's move to the G to the not double O-D, God himself. In Lucifer Season 5, God is played by Dennis Haysbert, who I only know as Free Allstate Guy, and he appeared in that Brenda Song movie. Terrible. I'm just saying, if I don't get a
Are you in good hands?
reference, I'm going to be pissed. Because believe it or not, even though I've only seen him in 2 things, I think he's going to be good as God. For his introduction as God, I'm mixed on it. Will he be as great as Morgan Freeman or Rob Benedict? Well, I have to wait for the second half of Season 5 to find out. Speaking of Rob Benedict, he's going to be appearing in Season 5, but not, I repeat, not as God. When I saw that picture of Tom, Richard, and Rob, I was going to make a video, but I then decided not to. Then I saw the official release of them talking about Rob appearing in the show. He's going to be playing a guy named Vincent Lemec, a hardened French mercenary whose violent works brings him to Los Angeles. I know when they got Rob on the show, they knew some people were going to think he was playing God. Come on. But now, with Season 6, they can confirm he is God. Here's how it should happen. It's the Season 6 series finale. Like the Supernatural Season 5 finale, God is monologuing and Lucifer's child is being born. Yes, I do think Lucifer and Chloe should have a child, and that sets up the Antichrist, which also sets up Season 7. Not now, but like in 5 to 15 years from now, if they want to come back for a revival series or a Lucifer movie. The TV show ends with Dennis Haysbert's God shapeshifting into Vincent saying,
No doubt, endings are hard. But then again, nothing ever really ends, does it?
Now, I know that's fan fiction, but I definitely would like to see Lucifer and Chloe have a child as the ending. Or Chloe becomes immortal, or Lucifer becomes mortal. Maybe confirm Vincent as God early in the season. You people at the screen asking, Giovanni, why would God appear on Lucifer's Earth as 2 different people? Well, as God said in Supernatural Season 11,
You know, acting is fun.
now who's to say that Vincent lives? He could die. Even if that's the case, God is still around because of Dennis, or maybe Vincent faked his death. It could be explained the reason why God looks like Vincent on Supernatural is because he liked the way he looked.
This gift is super cute.
By the way, I would like to see Morgan Freeman as God because he's my favorite. But let's not forget what Lucifer said.
Are we talking clouds, harps, old dudes in white robes?
And my dad is Morgan Freeman.
Jumping back to Crisis, believe it or not, I think God prevented Lucifer's Earth and Supernatural's Earth from being destroyed. If John Constantine is going to appear on the show, they have to address some Crisis problems. Granted, they probably don't have to address it, but I feel like they should, which is why I say God prevented it. Because think about it, was the antimatter wave magic based? If not, Lucifer, Amenadiel, and Maze would be floating in space. You see what I'm getting at here? Now, in the Crisis crossover, Lois said there's only 7 Earths left. And then the Anti-Monitor said,
It is done. The infinite Earths are gone. Soon only the antimatter universe will remain.
To them, they thought it was gone, but it wasn't. I know there's probably another question you're asking. Giovanni, if he prevented 2 Earths from being destroyed, why did he not prevent the Anti-Monitor from destroying the multiverse altogether? Well, I will let Joshua explain that.
Why see allow evil in the first place? You could drive yourself nuts asking questions like that.
So God created free will for a reason. Continuing on talking about God in the multiverse, right now, during Supernatural Season 15, God is destroying the multiverse. Now, I hope this is all part of his plan, and he snaps the multiverse back together at the end, because I want the crossover. Not only that, I think Billy is secretly the villain. I could be wrong, but hey, I do hope so, because this will bring back Julian back as Death, because I think he's still alive. I'll be talking about Death later on. Now, When Chuck is talking to Sam, he says this.
So Michael said that you create these worlds and you just toss them away, like failed versions of some book.
And you believe him?
This is me watching the show that God does care for some of his creations. So, that's why he prevented the Lucifer Earth and Supernatural Earth from being destroyed. Which, by the way, check out my Crisis on Infinite Earths fan edit series. Part 5 will be out eventually. In part 1 of the fan edit, I gave Supernatural a number. But in reality, in the actual show, I would not want them to give it an actual number. Keep it a mystery. And no, that doesn't mean it's Earth 1. Just because it said Earth 2 in Supernatural Season 15, Episode 10, doesn't mean the main universe of Supernatural is Earth 1. Speaking of Supernatural having numbers, it appeared on Legends of Tomorrow, which is Earth Prime. When I saw this, I freaked out. This is when they officially confirmed Supernatural is a part of the multiverse. Do you know why? Because there's another Supernatural Earth where Supernatural is a TV show. And that Earth is the French mistake Earth. Earth FM, which I'm calling it. When this came out on Screen Rant and other websites, they were saying Earth FM is on Earth Prime. And I'm like, that's false. Because it's revealed in that episode that magic doesn't exist. So, wrong! This just occurred to me. During Supernatural Season 15, Chuck is destroying all the Earths. When does this take place? Well, I think I'm about to answer my own question. It could take place pre-crisis or post-crisis. As said earlier, as long as Chuck snaps the multiverse back together, it's all good. Let's say the multiverse doesn't get put back together when Supernatural ends. Well, it would then have to take place pre-crisis. And if it happens to take place post-crisis, well, that's the beauty of the multiverse. Time moves differently. So let's say this. On Sam and Dean's Earth, it's the year 2020. But when they travel to Lucifer's Earth, it's the year 2020-2021. By that point, the Lucifer show ramifications has already been dealt with. Y'all see what I'm getting at here? I hope so. So no continuity is messed with. So while we're watching the Lucifer show in the year 2020 and in the past, Lucifer's Earth is destroyed in the present. Winding down here, I would like to mention a few other things before I go. Number 1, I would like to see Misha Collins on Lucifer as Castiel. That would be awesome. And it's not fan service. Amenadiel mentioned him in Season 4, Episode 6. In Lucifer Season 5, there will be a musical episode, which I don't really look forward to. I like musical moments, but not a full episode dedicated to it. But maybe they will change my mind. And it looks like Castiel will appear. And if he does appear in the episode, he will be played by someone new. I would like to see Misha do another funny accent. Lastly, James Jimmy Novak. This version should be different, and Castiel's introduction should be totally different from the one on Supernatural. Number 2, let's talk about some of the parallels between the shows and the consistencies throughout the multiverse. A. Lucifer on every Earth has rebelled against Chuck, because to Chuck, it's all a part of his script.
No, Dad, this is who you made me when you cast me away.
What if it's not my fault?
What is that supposed to mean?
Think about it. Dad made everything, which means he made me who I am. God wanted the devil.
B. The mark of Cain. On Lucifer, Cain got the mark from Amenadiel on God's orders, in which he was cursed with immortality. Supernatural, after the darkness was locked up, Lucifer took on the mark, and then eventually passing it to Cain. On Supernatural and Lucifer's Earths, Cain was played by 2 different people, Tom Welling and Timothy Omerson. Did I say that right? I don't know. If you were to ask me who would win between the two, I would have to go with Timothy's version. Not only that, Timothy appeared on Lucifer as Earl Johnson, who was thought to be God. I guess God really likes him. C. Continue on with the mark in explaining the darkness. In terms of the multiverse in the Supernatural show itself, it was shown other Earths had the mark of Cain. This had then confused a lot of people. How can there be other marks of Cain if the mark of Cain is supposed to be the lock and key to the darkness? To me, it's not really that hard to explain. See, this is why Andrew Dabb missed his opportunity of exploring the multiverse in Supernatural if he doesn't go more into it in the final 7 episodes. Look at this. In the theater, the movie watch has an ending. And then when it comes to DVD, you then find out there's alternate endings on the DVD. So after locking up the darkness, Chuck wanted to make alternate versions of the mark in which they mean different things. Lucifer's Earth, the mark of Cain is a circle. D. This is actors that's shown up between the shows. Number 1. Both main versions of Lilith have appeared on Lucifer and Supernatural. I gotta say, Lucifer's interpretation of Lilith, not bad. Don't like she was in 2 episodes. Maze was having mommy problems. Number 2. Ebica, I'm not pronouncing her last name because I will butcher it, appeared on Lucifer as Athena Burns and appeared on Supernatural as Robin and the angel Duma. Number 3. Amy Garcia, who I know as Veronica from George Lopez. She appeared on Supernatural as Nancy, but unfortunately, her character died because of Lilith. I really love Ella, and it's a shame she can't find true love. Number 4, Jeremy Davies. Now, he might have not appeared on Supernatural at all, but he did appear on Lucifer and Constantine. On Constantine, he played Richie Simpson, one of the people who damned Astra to hell, and on Lucifer, he played Nicky Hofmeister, or Nick for short. That's 3 characters. 3 characters, you say? Well, he also played John Deegan during the CW's Elseworlds crossover. I figured I'll bring this up real quick. Kevin Alejandro, who currently plays Dan, he played Sebastian Blood. Number 6, The Empty. Before I continue on, though, let's let The Empty talk about him, her, itself, real quick.
Before God and Amara, creation, destruction, heaven, hell, your precious little earth, what was there?
Nothing.
Yes, that's right. Nothing. Nothing but empty. And you are soaking in it. Angels and demons, you all come here when you die.
Now, when the multiverse was introduced in Supernatural, Supernatural fans thought there was multiple empties, but that can't be the case. If there's one God and one Amara, then there should be one empty. Yes, there's multiple heavens, hells, and purgatories, but there can only be one empty. All angels and demons from their earths go there when they die. May said that when she dies, she ain't coming back.
Demons don't have a soul. If I die, I just die.
My point exactly. When an angel or demon goes to the empty, they sleep a peaceful sleep of their deepest regrets. So what would Maze's deepest regret be if she was to go to the empty? I hope Maze gets a soul, whether it's from Michael or God, because she deserves it. Maze, you deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve it. Going back to Legends of Tomorrow, before I move on, if they were to time travel, let's say save Damien Dark from killing himself, will he then be removed from the empty? Because that's an excellent question. Number 7, Tricia Helfer, who appeared on Supernatural as Marley McNamara, or I would like to say that Earth's version of Charlotte Richards. Marley had a husband. His name was David McNamara. It's funny because Dan starts with the D as well. Like I said, it's all connected. Speaking of connected, I think it would be cool if Emily Swallow appeared on Lucifer as well. Imagine if Amara and the goddess met. I think they would actually get along because they don't like Chuck. The goddess would be mad realizing she never knew she had a sister-in-law or ex-sister-in-law this whole time. Plus, she could realize that she didn't create herself and she wasn't there at the beginning. Number 8, Death. I said I would come back to him. As I said in the video, why I think Death is still alive. If there's one God and one Amara and one Shadow, there has to be one Death. In Lucifer, there is the Angel of Death. But what's the difference between Death and the Angel of Death? Of course, I looked it up, and there is a lot of different answers. And the best answer I got is coming from Hulu. So I'ma say what the person said. The Angel of Death is merely the one who carries out the terminations, while the Grim Reaper harvests the soul of the dead. So pretty much, they are the Reapers, which is established on Supernatural. Death kills the person, and the Reaper delivers the human and monster to heaven, hell, purgatory, or the empty. So it would be cool to see Julian on Lucifer. Now, Supernatural fans are going to be like, but Giovanni, what about what Apocalypse World Michael said
You know, in my world, we locked death away and enslaved the Reapers.
And I will keep saying it as many times as I need to. There is a way to get around it, and that is, go watch Why I Think Death is Still Alive Part 2 to show that there's only one death across the multiverse, just in different forms. Now, number 9, Jesus. Both shows have mentioned Jesus, and of course, he's never going to appear, and that's good, because as a religious man myself, I don't want him to appear. But then again, I contradict myself because for Supernatural, I keep asking, when is Jesus going to appear on the show? Glad he never did though. Number 10. For both shows, God has forbid Nephilims. He hates them. For Lucifer, Chuck is going to let Charlie live. Charlie is going to change Chuck's mind on Nephilims and will let Amenadiel continue to be a father. On Supernatural, Chuck hates and will continue to hate Nephilims. He hates Jack. Sam had mentioned the Queen of Sheba, and I'm pretty sure he watched over her, but he hated Jane as well. But let's talk about the most notable, debatable Antichrist of them all. Jesse Turner. Avenge the Fallen. Jesse, out of all of them, he is the best one. And I want him to return in the final 7 episodes of Supernatural. But that ain't happening. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. Oh, I almost forgot. Going back to Angel of Death, the Angel of Death from Charmed, the original, was so good. And nobody really talks about that one. Lastly, let me know how would you cross over Lucifer and Supernatural, and what else do the shows share between each other. Anyway, get your fingers up. Get those fingers up, baby. And say it with me. Why does Chuck create all these Earths and just abandon them? Why, Chuck?
Because he doesn't care.
About you. Me. Anything.
Well, I guess that answers my question. Bye. Why, Chuck?
Because he doesn't care.